Duvernay. Hi there.
Hi, Ray. Do you remember me?
I do. I was gonna say, do you remember me?
Yes, I do.
My
Good
hair's
to
a little
see.
longer.
I know. I was just going to say, long hair, don't care. That's fine.
Ava, I want to jump right into this. I gotta share that I watched the film last night with my mother, who is 82 years old, my aunt, who is in her 70s, and my sister, who just turned 60.
Wow.
We had what I call dinner and dialogue because we watched this over dinner. There were times that we paused. There were times that we just had to breathe. And then there were times where we were just like, oh my God, she's done it again. You have done it again in the form of film that makes us think and that makes us ask those questions that we don't want to ask. So, how did this come to you? Because I can't imagine anyone else telling this story but you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for watching with all those queens. That sounds fantastic. I wish I was there. Um, yes, the book came out during the pandemic, actually about 2 months after the murder of George Floyd. And I remember not being in the mood to read anything, but everybody was talking about this book, but I didn't do it. So a couple of months later, I finally picked it up and I was really intrigued by it. I was captivated by it, but I didn't totally understand it. So I read it again. And I ended up reading it 3 times. And by the third time, I thought, wow, this needs to be shared. I want to make sure that everyone kind of gets a sense of this idea and this word and how it fits into the context of our daily lives. And so set about trying to adapt this nonfiction book. It's a nonfiction book, so it's not a story. It's information, it's anecdotes. There are characters here and there, but they're not in a story. And to try to take that kind of book and make it into a movie with actors and characters. And so I decided to make the main character the writer of the story. So the film follows Isabel Wilkerson, who's an incredible author, as she goes through a very tough time in her life with a lot of romance, but grief, career issues, and turning points that lead her to write this book, Cast. And while she's writing it, you see her research come to life and you understand what she understands as she figures it out.
What I so love about this is we've never seen a Black woman like this in a major film. This is a woman who is very educated. She's very well read. She has this amazing life. We see her at these amazing parties, but then we also, like you said, see this tragic part of her life. I was reading, Ava, that you tried getting this done through studios, but then you had to go another route, and you accomplished this through a sort of a philanthropic way, which is sort of a new way.
We actually were with one studio at the top of it, and the studio and I had different ideas about when we wanted to make it. I wanted to make it now. I wanted it to be out for the election year. I wanted to be a part of a conversation that I believe we should be having in this moment about the future of the way that we live with one another. They wanted to do it a little bit later, so I decided to take it out on my own and raise money independently. So we didn't take it around to a bunch of studios and get a bunch of no's. I already knew they weren't going to do it. You know, what is the movie about, Ava? It's about Cast. Wait, what's Cast? There's no superheroes. There's nobody running with a gun. You know what I mean? There's none of that. And so it was just an idea to do it independently. And we did. We did it with the support of the Ford Foundation and other philanthropic organizations who are like-minded and are focused on justice and dignity. So it's a kind of a first of its kind endeavor.
Well, you did an amazing job. And I was reading, you shot this in 37 days.
We shot this in 37 days on 3 continents, and we shot on film. So I think, for folks that might be not in the film industry, that is a short amount of time. That's basically a little over a month to shoot what you'll see is a film that spans 7 time periods, 3 countries. We shot in India and Berlin and a couple of cities in the United States with a very sprawling cast. This was done by a small Black production team, me and my producing partner, Paul Garnes. We've been producing together for a long time. We did Selma together. We did Middle of Nowhere, my first little indie together. And Paul and I produced every episode of Queen Sugar. So we've worked together for a long time, and we thought we can do this, and we did.
Ava, you mentioned casting. Let's get into this because I can't imagine anyone else playing Isabel but the great Aujanue Ellis. One of my faves, Niecy Nash Betts, is also in this. You have
Yes.
Audra McDonald, Blair Underwood. Let's talk about this amazing cast.
Yes, well, the cast is one that came from that independent process because it wouldn't have looked like that if I was with a studio. Studios have certain demands on who are in movies because, of course, they're trying to make their money back and they quantify that in different ways. Aujanue Ellis doesn't have an Instagram. She's not on social media. So there's not going to be that calculation of, well, she's going to bring in this much money and all of that. That's nothing we dealt with. I was able to cast people who I loved, who I knew would be the right actor for the part. And so each of those people that you named are folks that I, had worked with before, except Audra McDonald. She's someone that I very much wanted to work with. But Blair has been in my work before. Niecy has been in my work before. Aujanue had. Blair has. It was my very first film. So it's kind of like a troupe of actors that I love to work with, and this was a joy to get them all together.
And how much, I guess, participation did Isabel have in helping you take this from the book to the big screen?
Yes, well, she was very generous in opening up her life to me. All of the parts of the film that you'll see that are about her personal life are stories that she told me that I interpreted. And so I'm very grateful to her for her graciousness, her generosity, and sharing her stories with me, stories of her losses, of her family, stories of her motivations, stories of her deep research. She's an incredible researcher and just a very, a great mind. And so it was wonderful. It was over a period of about 2 years. It was during the pandemic, so it was mostly on Zoom. And it was a really illuminating experience for me. I'm grateful to her.
What I loved about this, and as I mentioned at the top that I watched this with my family, I really feel like this is a film that people should watch with family, with friends. I love, and not to give it away, but there's a scene in the film where they're having a dinner and they're having this conversation about race, about caste, and there's these sort of different perspectives. I thought that was cool, and my sister and I, we both agreed that these are the types of conversations that we need to have when there isn't the unrest going on, right? When there isn't something that has just happened because emotions are high when you're trying to have those conversations. Can we talk about that? And will there be some conversations to follow the film, some dialogue, if you will, to follow the film in different cities, if you will?
We this film is made for people to do with what they will. So we really use it as a tool. We have a whole study guide that will go along with it at array101.com or array101.org, whichever. You just put in Array 101. And we've been working for 16 months, our educational team, led by Tammy Garnes, on all of the different aspects of the film. So folks can actually take the film, they can take the learning companion, and that's not just for students in school. That's for anyone that wants to go deeper. You know, after a movie, you go home and you start Googling. You don't have to Google. You go look in this guide, and everything you could want to know is well researched and highlighted there in ways that are really interesting to read. And so we invite people to share the film in small groups, take groups, use it for different educational aspects. We certainly are doing a lot of that. And you can follow our socials at Array Now on Twitter and on IG and on Facebook. But really, it's for the people. It's for you to use in the way that you want. And I think that that's something that people should know, that film is for you. We make it for you. When we're on set, we're thinking of you. I am anyway. And so I offer it to people, and I hope people run with it and use it in all kinds of ways.
Ava, I know we're running out of time. What was the biggest lesson that you learned as a director and writer for this project that you did not have or learn from your last projects?
It reminded me that I can make something beautiful independently and that I don't have to depend on studios and corporations, to do the things I want to do and to assert my voice. I started as an independent filmmaker using my own very small money on small things. And now that I've been in the studio system and streamers and I've made bigger things, you start to lose that sense of independence because you're not independent. You're working collaboratively with a corporation. And I'll probably do that again. But the reminder here is that I don't have to. That's not my only way, that I have options. And if there's something I want to do that the studios are not interested in, that doesn't mean it can't be done. That we can self-determine, that we don't need permission to accomplish the things that we're interested in doing. And it was a beautiful reminder. I'm very proud of the whole team and proud of this work. I hope people check it out when it's in theaters starting on January 19th.
Absolutely. Ava Duvernay, thank you so very much, and so good
Thank
talking
you.
to you.
Really good to see you again. Thank you.